notes coming from that book. I'm not going to be featuring very largely in this part of the conference, as we're pleased to hear. So there's one administrative thing. I will probably end to just say final words, but the one administrative thing, there's lots of people apparently needing taxis to the station or willing to the station, and some who've already booked taxis who might be willing to share at the end of the plenary. So maybe just to try and make links between people, there'll have to be a scramble at the end. I'm not going to do a coordination service now. Could those who book taxis and would be willing for somebody else to come with them, put your hands up? So you can, the others can see it. Can those who would like to share, and there may be more that you need to put, can you put your hands up?
That looks well matched.
So that's fairly well matched actually. So maybe at the end of the plenary, if people have got, if you can meet in the foyer and just try and match yourselves up with people who book taxis. That's probably the best I think we can do.
Yeah, could I say I'm using 4:15, so I have to go.
I think we can do.
Yeah, could I say I'm using 4:15, so I have to go. So
Okay.
wants to do 4:15.
I know Bernard's leaving early with the 4:15 taxis.
I have 4:15.
Yeah, so there's two 4:15 taxis going at the moment. Okay,
come on.
I need to move on. So the next bit I would like to do is something I should have done yesterday when I was getting overexcited about Brexit and changes in government and so on. Apart from announcing that Gove is still there, he's decided to stick with DEFRA. He's grown to love us so much that he wants to stay with it. There is some much sadder news, and I think some of you will already be aware, but there have been two stalwarts of organic farming for many, many years who in the last couple of weeks have died. One of those is Ed Goff, whose funeral was today, and we have an obituary for Ed in the magazine that's in your packs. Ed was a dairy farmer at Oswestry. He was one of the first people to engage with the Organic Research Centre 30 years to develop conversion planning techniques. And he did many other things, and I don't have the space here to go into all of that detail, to engage with and at times stimulate and at times irritate, perhaps, people with his views. He was a frequent letter writer to the Farmers Guardian and Farmers Weekly, but I, for one, will really miss him. And then the other person, and this was a complete shock, was Lynn Tolhurst, who died suddenly and completely unexpectedly earlier this week, which is why Ian Tolhurst and Tamara were not able to be here this week. Lynn Tolhurst has been probably the person who's really kept Tolhurst Organics going, even though Ian often takes the credit when he's not doing other things. But it's Lynn played a really important part there, and I think again many of us who know Lynn and know Ian and Tamara will realise how big a loss that's going to be. So I just thought it might be appropriate for us to have a 1 minute thought about them and others, because of course Peter Melchett and there's plenty of other people that we know who come into that group. So if we could have a 1 minute pause, that would be good. Thank you. I'm going to hand over to Christopher Stokes now to chair the closing plenary, and I thank all of you who stayed for this to help see the conference to a great conclusion.
Thank you very much, Nick, and welcome everybody to this Triodos Bank closing plenary. And the fact that we're calling it the Triodos Bank closing plenary is in respect of all that Triodos does, not just as a sponsor of conferences and many events, but also maybe more importantly in providing the finance to enable many organic businesses and other enterprises to set themselves up to reinvest, to further invest and to flourish. So thank you Triodos very much indeed. And welcome then to this final plenary where we've got a very good lineup of speakers, including international and national experts. And the question that we're really asking everyone to answer is, what do we need to do in our various ways to make progress and improve what is a little bit of a sort of a logjam in the development of the organic sector. And if we think that at the moment at only 3%, the UK is way below other European countries, but that still means over 517,000 hectares of land managed organically by 3,600 farmers. And that translates into savings of 300,000 kilos of active pesticide ingredient not being applied, 40,000 tonnes of fertiliser not being applied, and that then translates into many of the benefits that we have, which are public benefits, public goods, protecting and enhancing biodiversity, reducing the fourfold nitrogen surplus, sequestering carbon, and so on. And also we've heard over this last couple of days about many of the other benefits and potentials, as well as pitfalls of organic. If we were to increase, let's say to 10%, a threefold or so increase, we'd have a lot of more organic products to sell, and that's clearly a challenge. And we need to find the right tools and the right mechanisms to enable those sales to be made, to enable thriving organic businesses to operate in the UK. And so that comes to a debate about the agricultural policy. The first thing to remember is that with Brexit Britain, we seem to think that the debate on agricultural policy is only here and that Europe has no meaning. But of course, the reform of the common agricultural policy continues apace and indeed is moving in just the same direction towards public money for public goods, which the UK is sort of pretending is our own and brilliant idea. It isn't. It's actually a universal idea, if you like. And so the agriculture bill, the Green Peril, which this is the document, represents on the one hand an opportunity, but when you read in detail, it actually has more questions than answers. So what do we need to do, each in our own separate ways, to help to get to the levels of organic penetration that we have in other European countries? So we're going to start this session with two inspiring examples from very different parts of the world. The first is from Sikkim, which Nick mentioned right at the outset, the state of Sikkim in India, who has made a policy to go 100% organic. And the second is from Denmark, who I think all of you are aware is a European country and has an extraordinary level of uptake and enthusiasm for organic as a result of linked policies, the sort of stuff that a silo-based UK government maybe doesn't quite get. So we're going to have a talk from Paul Holmbeck to give us some inspiration about where organic can go in a country which fosters policies across the board to enable growth of the sector. And after that, we're then going to have a panel which I'll introduce when they come up here. They're at the moment sitting amongst you in the audience, and we're going to bring them up and sit them here in front of you, because of course if they sit there, they can't see the film and you can't see the screen. So we'll start off, if I may, with Bernard, who assured me that at the click of a button his presentation will start immediately. So he has a couple of minutes to introduce the film, but we're running late. I'm determined to get you away on time, so I'm asking everybody except for me to speak as little as possible. So Bernard, please.
Or faster.
Sorry?
Or faster.
Or faster.
Yeah, for Palatable Aid, also use not my native language. I can speak very fast, but I can assure you I catch my train, I text you catch the train, you catch the plane, so you're safe. No, thanks for the opportunity, last minute decided. Thanks Nick for giving me the privilege actually to share with you something. If you would have asked me 2 years ago if it's thinkable that not just a village or valley, maybe a whole state goes 100% organic, I would say, oh, it's maybe dreamable, but not thinkable in my time lifespan. I came last year, April, in the context of the One World Award, to one of the nominated projects. I came to Sikkim for 2 days only, and I saw that I came to a wonderland. I couldn't believe it, 100% organic. And so they have not only set the policies, they have implemented it. That makes the difference. Bhutan has set the policy, they have not yet managed to implement it. Sikkim did it quietly. It took them 12 years to convert 65,000 farmers, 75 hectares of land, so you know, very small farms up in the Himalaya. You're British, you know your former colonies. It was the kingdom between Bhutan and Nepal. And they have, what were the ingredients? Is there lessons to be learned from here and for this session? Yes, there are lessons to be learned. It's not a blueprint. You can't use the technology and the way they implemented it on this small scale farming up on steepest hills, villages that cannot even be reached by a car, have no roads. That's not the blueprint. The blueprint are the main ingredients that make this wonderland or miracle happen. One is, it needs a politician with a vision. And the Honorable Chief Minister has took his country and his farmers to that. He's a farmer. He grew up on a farm. He had only 7 years of school education. He farmed as a young man. Then he went into politics. By the way, he's a very known, brilliant poet as well. But a vision alone is not enough. It takes a will. It takes a will to do the unthinkable. Because he said, no, I don't want to convert a little bit. I want to convert. No, I want to convert 100%. He consulted with the farmers and with the people. The minister left office for that reason. You are crazy. Never this will work. He got a new minister, and they together then went on this journey. And they managed that the whole farmers converted. I have been 18 years director of IFORM. I think Louise had mentioned yesterday the fact that they just have been awarded with the Future Policy Award, which is known as the Policy Oscar at FAO in Rome. So this is highly recognized, and people start to see and learn and get inspired by Sikkim. The story of Sikkim is so fascinating that the 6-minute film can give you only a slight glimpse of what's happening there. There's half-an-hour film. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be ready yesterday. I couldn't show it in the French station. But Nick will make sure that in the proceedings and in the maybe M Farm, in the research center, you will have a link to this beautiful half-an-hour film about this. And I think after you saw the clip, you want to see more. If you want to read more, there is a publication right here. Not enough copies for everybody, so it's a race who gets the first ones. And come for 5 minutes to see him and get inspired.
Is an Indian federal state between Bhutan and Nepal. Honorable Chief Minister Shri Pawan Chanlin grew up on a farm in a small village. Although an accomplished poet, he managed a very impressive career as a politician.
Welcome to Sikkim, the first organic state of India.
He won a record 5 re-elections as Chief Minister with clear margins. The only big farm of Sikkim is this 400 organic hectares of Temi tea, which is run by the government. Horticulture research is carried out on the state farm. And the tree nursery provides diversification of trees to the farmers. The market in Sikkim's capital, Gangtok, has its own organic section, providing for all foods needs. Model farms and farmer field schools have been fundamental in meeting the challenge to convert over 65,000 farmers to organic farming. Farming on steep hills and mountains is a challenge, and cultivating on terraces is a sustainable logic. Farmers learn about many different ways to make compost. Most popular in India is vermicompost, which shows the best results. Villages are remote, but have spectacular views. The people of Sikkim love flowers, and this provides good income for farmers. Appropriate irrigation technology from an innovative farmer Large cardamom is another good income generating cash crop. Foremost stable food is grown for local and self-consumption. A bumper crop of finest organic ginger is making the farmers happy. In rain or shine, cows provide milk and work hard with perfection. Reaching mountain farmers can be adventurous. This village can only be reached by foot. Guests are welcome with big smiles and flower power. On this farm, goats provide the manure for fertile compost. Knowing and appreciating the value of fertility, farmers are becoming compost masters. The women are equal partners to their farmer husbands. Healthy crops on healthy soil. The farming communities cultivate also cultural traditions, as well as food culture, enjoying a refreshing and tasty millet beer. Also inspired by Gandhi, Chief Minister Chamberlain has become a worldwide unique champion and hero by converting all farms of Sikkim to organic farming. May the world follow his example and inspiration.
My message is to create an organic, pollution-free and clean world. My message is chemical-free world. If we want to protect our planet, we go for organic farming.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Bernard, for introducing that one winner of the Future Policy Award organised by the FAO, the World Future Council, and iFoam Organics International. We're now going to move to a presentation from one of the Silver Award winners of the Future Policy Awards, and that was Denmark. And I think many of us know already the way in which Denmark is leading the way in Europe, amongst other countries. Paul Holmbeck is the Director of Organic Denmark, and he will now give a presentation which hopefully will give us a rounded view of why Danish Organics works and what we could learn from that experience. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you for the chance to share some lessons from Denmark, the second place winner. And it's, like Benoit said, this is no blueprint, but I want to share some lessons, some things that are working, where we've been able to go from a situation that we call everyone waiting for everyone to everyone motivating everyone, where politics and market and organization are all driving an upward spiral and not just around and around or down. So that's what I'll try to communicate to them. And I've got 20 minutes to do it, so it's going to go kind of fast. Political and market mobilization. I'm going to say 2 words about who our organization is, and then how we drive market growth, and then how policy is a catalyst both for farming and food sector, and throughout all of it, our intensive focus on people, and people who are actually driving things, and motivation in all aspects, with politicians, with people working in the public kitchens, with farmers, etc. Our organization, we cover the food chain, and we have the farmers, food companies, food professionals, people working with restaurants and canteens, etc., consumers and knowledge workers, you could call it, if you want to fit it into a little box there, researchers, advisors, etc. And we cover all of the work in the market. I work with the retail sector, all consumer information on organics in Denmark, all the marketing of the national organic logo, export promotion, we have an export academy, innovation on farms, we have an advisory service, political lobby work. So this is all brought together in one organization. We were 8 organizations. As the situation is in this country, a great diversity. Diversity is usually a very good thing, and it often is a good thing. But we all moved together in the same house in 1998 and fused into one organization in 2002. And that was a powerful lift for our work on the market, our work in politics. We went from having 8 chairmen to 1 chairman, having a focus that could give us more muscles to work with, also out in the media. There's no question Denmark is going organic. We reached a kind of a tipping point, maybe not the tipping point, but when 80% of the people are buying organic food, more Danes are buying organic food every week. We've had a conversion of an increase in the organic area of 15%, over 15% each year the last couple of years. Copenhagen's at 90% organic, and a large number of cities are over 60% organic now. And one thing recently that really struck me was I've held speeches for graduating agricultural students. I've done this for a number of years, and I always ask them, how many of you are sure you're not going to be an organic farmer? And some years ago, most of them put their hands up, and until actually 2 years ago, they're still much more than half were still sure. This year, I asked them, and no one put their arm up. None of them are sure they're not going to be organic farmers. And talking with them afterwards, there are a number of them that are quite sure they are going to be organic farmers. That's a huge tipping point. We've had a rapid development in organic market share. We're at over 13.5%. This covers a great difference. Maybe it's the future of food. Our percentages on meat are quite low, 3 to 8, 9, 10%. But for oats and a number of different vegetables, and for milk and for eggs, we have 30 to 50% of the market. So every third liter of milk that's purchased is organic. Some comparisons to where other countries are. It's going well in a number of countries, but we are out in front. And is this just because Denmark's a very rich country? No. Research actually shows if you compare per capita purchases, per capita income to purchases of organics, we're kind of up over the mean. And research is always a few years behind with old data. So the current data would put us way up there. So something different is happening in Denmark. Organic sales in public and private food service kitchens is constantly increasing. What we're expecting this year for these different areas is 14% in supermarkets, 25% in food service, and about 30% for online sales, after an 86% increase last year. So, none of this happened on its own. Policy and market collaboration is what's driving the market. Our opinion is markets are not anything you get, it's something you create. And one of the lessons in terms of politics for us has been that over the last 25 years, all major policy initiatives in the organic area have been made through agreements between our organization and politicians, leading the way. They have not come from the ministries, not in any regard. It's politicians making decisions about wanting more organics. But the quality and the effect of policy has come through a very close collaboration with the ministries. It's an intensive lobby work. And trying to communicate the why. Because politicians being motivated, I've used Kennedy's words, ask not what your country can do for organics, ask what organics can do for your country. We talk with all political parties, and we talk with them from where they are, not where we are, not what we think is good about organics, but what we think they think is good about organics. So for one political party, for almost 10 years, it was only because of animal welfare that they supported organic farming. It's a far right-wing party. We have good relations with all 9 parties in our parliament. But for some of them it's green growth, for some of them it's the environment, for others it's animal welfare or development in rural areas. It's the same approach we have to all organizations. We have a very close relationship to all environmental, animal welfare, consumer, and agricultural organizations. Again, based on what's important to them. I used to use a Swiss Army knife to show what organics can. You know, all those little tools, you know, climate, biodiversity, animal welfare. You're getting this multi-purpose tool instead of having to buy all these different tools. But this is clearly the platform for the future. So in communicating what organics can today, we're looking at, and I'm sorry, I forgot to switch. This is not in English. Biodiversity, what we can do for clean water, drinking water. We get all our drinking water from groundwater in Denmark. Sustainable circulation of nutrients from the cities, and responsible production, products being produced, food being produced without so many antibiotics and pesticides, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Climate. We have a major effort now to build organic farming into the national climate policy. And we're taking all those battles about whether organic is better or conventional is better and taking them really up front. I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. So one of the things we're really good at is partnerships, which I think may be the most important of all of the United Nations goals, because by working together with others, setting an agenda for green conversion. And we don't say that our label guarantees it, but we talk a lot about poverty and about ending hunger, and the use of agroecology in that is also a big part of our communication. So, a few key things that we've learned about policy success is embedding organic policy as a tool in other broad policies being developed by the government. Chris had a different term for it, but a balanced push-pull of pushing products out from the farms, but also working on market and sector development to pull from the other direction. Capacity building in our organization so we can make things happen in the market, among other things. A state policy capacity. For things to work, we need people working in government who actually know things about organic farming. Active use of action plans, and then close collaboration on policy development. Just some examples of that embedding of organics as a tool in broader policies. Organic farming is written into and a tool of these different plans, and within these plans, this is where we've gotten financing for organic research, organic product development, organic market development. These have been built into other plans, not organic policies, but into other plans. Drinking Water Protection Plan, our largest research program ever for organic farming came through the Drinking Water Protection Plan. Aquatic Environment Protection Plan, Nature and Biodiversity Strategy, the National Green Growth Strategy, the Green Nation Export Branding Strategy, and not least, rural development. Just as an example, rural development program of what that can do for organics. In Organic Denmark, we developed our own strategy of what we thought a set of policies that would be an organic sector strategy, and proposed that and got that built into the last 2 7-year programs for rural development. And what does that mean? I mean, if you're just looking at carrots, for example, the support for advice and training and investment among farmers, the use of product development, bringing chefs in and working with all kinds of new types of crops, and then marketing through food service, supermarkets, all the way out to the consumer. So the rural development program is working with organics all the way through the entire chain. Organic action plans, we've done a bunch of these. They've had different character. The last 4 have all been government policy. The first ones were more like catalogs of ideas. But it's these 2 in yellow here, the 2012-2015 that won the silver for Future Policy Award, because we had used the last few years to look at what we got out of that, and made a huge difference. Some examples of push, I've mentioned Some of them as modest. We actually have a relatively modest conversion support. We're in the bottom 20% in the European Union, so there's not a whole lot of support for conversion and maintenance of organic areas, but it's important that it's there. But training, education, advisory services, and conversion visits are fully financed. Investment in farms and food companies, and then innovation, helping organic farmers become better farmers through research, but also what we call grassroots research. It's not supported right now, but for many years, if a farmer wanted to do smaller experiments, they could get a small amount of money to try new things. We've also teamed up with cities we have partnerships with 26 municipalities on conversion of to organic farming in the areas that they want to protect, where they need to protect their drinking water resources or particularly sensitive nature areas, to reduce the pesticide pressure around those areas. So the conversion checks, so we go out with the city and offer conversion checks in those areas. Mobile product development team, increasing 25% job growth in the companies that used it. That's something that made a lot of sense to politicians. So we have this cooperation along the product chain, developing new value, and this is what's happening right here, is a farmer on the left, Carsten Kjærgaard, together with someone from retail, with our product development advisor, and with a major mill, working with new varieties that have become a whole assortment of new products in that retail chain. And then adding value, there's special climate qualities to some of these products and some other things. Pull from the market. Briefly, we have our national logo. Inspection is free, by the way. We have consumer information on organics, public procurement goals and resources, farm levy funds. I used 15 years to pressure those funds to start financing organic product development, marketing, etc., and used the enabling legislation and the politicians behind it to pressure agricultural funds to start investing in organic development, which they do now. Our largest support for market development now comes from the levy funds. Export promotion, and then capacity development. So that's the pull. Briefly, how we work with the supermarket chains. We represent the producers, all the producers, 95% of the sales in Denmark. So we go into a strategic collaboration with each supermarket chain. And we have collaborate with all of them. Aldi was the last one that came along. But now all major 10 supermarket chains, we work at the strategic level. And then when organics is placed within their strategy from the top, then we can work our way down into each of those supermarket chains, working at expanding product assortment, helping them communicate better to the consumers in-store, outdoor, etc. So instead of coming in from the bottom, we go in from the top. Our communication to consumers is positive. 98% know our label now. 8 out of 10 have high confidence in it. And our messages are always positive about what organics can do for nature and for people buying food. This is Ren Madblad, Pure Food Happiness, which is our collaboration with the OTB on increasing sales. Organics is folkelig. You've heard the word hygge from Denmark. There's been 1 million books written about it. Well, this is another really good word. Folkelig, it means like popular, but it means so much more. It means that the people have taken it to them, to their heart. And people talk about organics being folkelig now. This is something we're good at. This is something that is important for us. This adds to political goodwill. Market success also adds to political goodwill. We do not talk about or criticize conventional farming. In 25 years, I've probably said something publicly about conventional farming maybe 3 times. We just don't address it. We do not force in that way MPs, it's members of parliament to take sides. If we're attacking conventional farming, then they're taking sides if they're helping us. But building up the organic sector does not require that they take sides. They just need to be positive about what organic farming can do. So if we were doing something like this, we would have probably 80% of politicians against us. So our communication is not political, but our political communication is for the consumer. You can follow me.
Yeah.
We talk about the solutions we're creating. So our communication is also not just about campaigns and other things, but it's about giving hope that we can solve problems. So when we're in national television, talking about, when we have one of our farmers who's done a climate action plan, and he can talk about all the different things we can do to solve the climate crisis. And our advisor can go into this and talk about how motivating it's been for farmers and all this kind of thing, while the conventional farmers are saying, we're the best in the world here in Denmark. We don't have to change anything. And when the national government is doing policies where farmers really don't have to change anything that they do, I mean, who's creating trust? Who's creating hope? So it contributes to support. We also do a lot of activities to have people experience farming. Our organic day, when the cows are let out of the barns, fresh spring grass, 250,000 Danes. That may not sound like a lot here. That would be like 3+ million people in the UK coming out every year on an organic farm to see the cows come out. I mean, together with our other like harvest markets, we have 5% of the whole Danish population is out on a farm every year. So they get the experience and they learn it's an organic set the cows free. Farmers get support they deserve. The last thing I'm going to mention, I think I have a couple more minutes.
Absolutely.
Okay, is as an example of how the political and the mobilization in the sector, how that plays together and supports itself. And that's in the area of the public kitchens. So from the political side, we mobilized and got political support for a goal of 60% organic in all public kitchens. We got financing for cities that would make that conversion, not for the price premium on the organic food, but for the process of conversion in the kitchens. And we have our national organic cuisine labels for 30, 60, and 90%, which is like our organic label is it's a national label. It was very controversial when we came with the idea of having something with our organic label on it that was only had 30% organic, because we're talking 95, 100% organic out in the stores. This proved to be extremely motivating out in the kitchens. From our side, besides doing political work, we made a guarantee for supply. Organized farmers, food companies, together with all of the major food service firms in the country to increase product assortment so that the products were there when the demand came from the cities. Education, motivation in the kitchens for that conversion, and then education and motivation in the food service companies with organic schools. People working in food service are some of the most conservative, stodgy people I've ever met. They are only thinking of price and delivery. Price and delivery, appearance, maybe, of the food that's being sold. So we went out and educated those, and they were meeting these people in the kitchens, the ones that already were saying that they wanted, for years have been saying they wanted more organic products. Oh yeah, we have those. They're kind of expensive. We don't always have them. They're kind of hard to get. But they would talk it down. We had to turn that around. So that's our organic cuisine labels, and they've now in Germany, in Norway, very similar. Estonia is coming with a similar model. That's the increase in how many kitchens have it. And this organic school here is again, it's about them having the experience. So these frontline sellers in the food service industry, we get them out, even if it's raining, out on farms to see what's happening out there, to talk about soil, talk about roots, talk about plants, what gives quality. One of our farmers talking with them, it did stop raining that day. We have a great film, but I don't have time to show it.
Advertising umbrellas.
But yeah, yeah, they had boots and umbrellas with the organic logo on it. Not bad. So getting close to the why. What does organic farming mean for nature, for animals, soil, climate? I participated as a tester of these. 1 minute? Okay. I guess I can't tell that story. But so they got close to agriculture, and we always celebrate. They got diplomas as organic sellers. Organic sector, we're also creating momentum out in the kitchens. This is the very last thing. With this massive educational effort in the public kitchens, in collaboration with their trade unions, who are some of our closest partners. We have mobile conversion trainers organizations, the Copenhagen House of Food, and what's called Eco Plus, and some others that do the actual training. We have a broad agenda to increase respect for their talent out there in the kitchens where they get to make real food again, and again, reinforcement through celebrations. That's our agricultural minister with a whole bunch of people that have gotten the new labels. And I want to just say one last time that it wasn't just about organic. It wasn't just about substituting conventional with organic, but about changing food completely, the way it was being made and what it is. More greens, root veggies, less meat, food in season, reducing waste, 15 to 40%, better food, organic within the same budget. So by less meat, reducing waste, buying in season, they paid the entire organic premium up to 60% organic. Proven. So it's all about motivation. This is, in Copenhagen, we had giant banners around the whole city celebrating the people out in the public kitchens who'd made this conversion. These are the people who've made Copenhagen to an organic capital. So that's really the final message, is that it's all about the people, it's all about motivation, whether we're talking politicians, people in the kitchens, farmers, wherever you are. So tak for jeres opmærksomhed, that means thanks for listening and for your efforts.
Paul, thank you very much indeed. I have to say we could listen to you for a lot longer, but since we started a little bit late, and we need to finish on time, I have to say thank you very much. And what we're going to do now, if I can invite you to sit down, and if we can turn off the projector, and if the panel can come up, bringing the chair with them, carry your chair, you have to be here. Please, come on, and then I'll introduce the panel.
Put that up for you.
Right, thank you very much. And I have to say, you can take your pick out of what Paul said. That would help to answer the question, what do we need to do in the UK, each in our various ways, to get somewhere approaching what Denmark has achieved. And so on the panel we have, great, everybody with us. We have immediately, I'll go from left to right, Gareth Morgan from the Royal Society for Protection for Birds. He's the head of external affairs and formerly was head of agricultural policy. We've got Sue Walker from Triodos with 7 years banking experience specialising in agriculture, but a huge 19 years of banking experience, so she knows her money and who to give an overdraft to. We have Kathleen Kelleher. Sadly, Maggie Charnley from DEFRA was unable to participate due to ill health, so we're really sorry for Maggie and wish her well, but are really grateful that Kathleen can step up to the mark. And Kathleen is the head the team leader for organics and environmentally friendly farming, so a department of DEFRA that's obviously critically interested in the way the organic movement and the organic sector can develop and help deliver the promises DEFRA needs to make in the agriculture bill. We've got Roger Kerr, who's the Chief Executive of Organic Farmers and Growers, a UK certification body. We have Hardy Vogtmann, who's been a major figure in organic agricultural development for decades and has an illustrious career behind him, which of course you can read about, as with all our speakers, in the detailed speaker biographies at the back of the booklet. So what I'd like to do is to ask each of the panellists to respond briefly to Paul's inspiring talk about Denmark, and specifically from the perspective of NGOs, of banks, of government, of certification, and generally an altogether all-round good man like Hardy. What is it that the UK needs to do to achieve some of the success that Denmark has achieved? So Gareth, can I start with you, and to focus on that question, what can we do that's different? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was a very inspiring presentation, and I was particularly struck by the appropriation of the Kennedy remark there. And I think my thought would be, let others do the heavy lifting on some of this. Get some of the policy drivers into place that will, the carbon agenda, the pollution agenda, the biodiversity agenda. There's a lot happening on that in a global sense, and once those drivers are in place, then it becomes possible to do two things. One, it becomes possible to say to government, if you want to solve climate change, if you want more biodiversity, then you need to say, go organic to people. And second, you can make the same promise to consumers. And a particular one, obviously for me, is biodiversity. We need to be able to get to the place where you say, if you want to have more skylights in your fields, then buy organic. If we're at that point, then others have done the heavy lifting and you can move in the back. I think just taking it all upon ourselves on the organic side, I don't think that will work. So that would be my take on it.
Thank you very much. When, obviously with RSPB you have a particular interest in birds, and you mentioned skylarks in your conversation, in what you just said. Would you say that skylarks depend on a robust and diverse biodiversity of all taxa to achieve a success for birds? Because is it a linked system that we need to have that works?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just about birds. And in fact,
Right.
I think probably an organisation like BugLife, which is quite niche, is the place where you're likely to see first the direct connection with something like organic, because those are the bellwether taxa. But equally, I don't think organic should be proud. I mean, Peter Melcher, who was such an inspiration, I went to his farm. He wasn't proud to go around in the winter throwing a bit of corn out for the birds, to make sure if he needed to do extra, he could then make that promise to consumer and to government that if you come to Courtyard Farm, you will find more birds.
Excellent, thank you very much. Sue, from the financing point of view, I think Paul was saying some really important things about the way that we pump prime the system with money. How does Triodos go about doing that, and what would you do in Britain to make a real difference?
Okay, so on the banking side of things, I think what we would look to do really, I mean, I don't know how many people know much about Triodos Bank. We're an ethical bank. We were set up in the late 60s by some, what you would call well-educated people in the Netherlands that look... Oh, sorry, can you not... Is that better? Yeah. So we were set up in the in the 60s as almost like a crowdfunding platform, what you would see today as a crowdfunding platform. We formally became a bank in the 1980s and then went on to open our UK branch in the 1990s. What we're about is we're about raising money for good causes. So people put money with us, knowing that we will lend it out for either good of people or the environment. So that's kind of how we work. We try to get our message out in different kind of ways. At the moment, last year we opened our personal current account, which really got a message out to a lot of people that didn't really know who we were or that we existed at all. And we do things like offer conversion loans for people that are going into organics with discounted rates. Our colleagues in the Netherlands are taking a new approach to banking at the moment, which is quite interesting. They're actually talking to the government at the moment, and they're talking to the government about including the environmental risk associated with lending to certain projects within the amount of capital that a bank has to hold when it lends out money. So generally as a rule, cash liquidity is based on financial risk of a business and the amount of security that a bank's provided with. We want to add a new angle into that, which is slightly different. I think if UK banks adopted it, it would make a huge, huge difference in the UK. Is that if we were looking at a project that was a renewable energy project as opposed to financing an oil refinery, the bank would have to hold less cash to support that renewable energy project, and in turn can offer that discount back to the actual customer to encourage people to do things that are good for the environment. So that is what we're working on at the moment, and if we can get that through in the Netherlands, maybe it's something that we can introduce into the UK as well.
Thank you, that sounds like a really positive approach. So then turning to government, Kathleen, not that I'm asking you to speak for government as a whole, but can you offer your insights with the agriculture bill in front of us? What is it that we need to do to start to mimic what Denmark has done?
Well, I want to start off by saying I love the positivity of what you had to say. And I thought there was so much that we could take on board from that. And in terms of what we need to change in the UK, from my perspective, you've got a well-organised sector with lots of very good bodies. However, I'm not sure that consumers are where you're focused on. And we know that for consumers, prices are important. We also know the retailers have the upper hand. So in terms of working together, I think it's with the retailers. We know that 20 to 25% of the people in this country are dependent on benefits of one kind or another, including the OAP benefit. So price is important, and to get people to buy more organic, we've got to bring the prices closer. And they're only going to start buying as well if they really understand what organics is offering, which you were selling very well, and that they really believed it was healthier for them and the planet. So that push-pull, I think, is really important. And public procurement's been talked about here. And that can be done at a local level as well as a government level. So again, I think the sector could really start pushing this at a local authority level. Now, we also need better coordination and integration in the sector. We understand that consumers are increasingly buying organic eggs, even if they're not always sure if they're free range. However, we're not getting enough grain to feed them, so we're importing it. Now, I did hear it mentioned earlier, that does spread the benefits to other countries, but we really need to make sure that we're bringing the whole supply chain along in this country to actually support the consumer demand. And then finally, we have one of the most exciting things happening in this country, if you accept Brexit is exciting, and that is the environmental land management scheme. We're going to move away from giving people money just for owning land. We're doing something radical, disruptive, and different. And we need to be part of that. And we need to bring other people with us. We may not have a little tick box that says organic, but there'll be lots of boxes that the organic sector can go tick, 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 tick. And that may actually encourage other people when they see that they could get more money if they went organic. So those are all things that I think we could do that would really make a difference.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Kathleen. And is this working still? I'm not sure. No. Oh, it's gone dead. Hold on a second, because I want to pick up on what Kathleen said. Hi, yeah, that's better. Yeah, thank you very much, Kathleen. What I'm interested in is that you gave us a sneak preview on how elms will actually work in practice. There won't be an organic scheme for elms.
There may not be.
There may not be, and I can understand that you can't give answers to what the agriculture bill will be in the future. Indeed, we may not have an agriculture bill. We may be sticking with the common agricultural policy. But the thing that I thought was particularly important in what Paul said was the way in which it was working across government. And we've been used to a food ministry, the agriculture ministry, DEFRA, that tends to only work in one silo. Can you see the ways that we can get more mirror the approach taken in Denmark to work across government departments to enable this sort of joined-up policy which seems to have worked so well in Denmark?
Currently, we are working on Brexit, and believe it or not, it is the most joined-up government's ever been. And that's been actually fantastic, and it might actually allow this kind of thinking to carry on. And we also have a minister, Michael Gove, who thinks a little bit differently, and he's been out on organic farms, he talks about organics, he went to the fringe thing, and so he's been pushing people to work harder and closer together. He named the white paper, the Health and Harmony, and he is now insisting that people in DEFRA and people in the Department for Health are working closer together. This is pretty radical. He's also very interested in what's happening with education and children, because we've had this thing called the Childhood Obesity Strategy. I didn't think it needed writing down myself, because I thought we were doing a great job producing obese children. But the idea of the strategy is actually to reduce obesity. And he sees that as part of the role of DEFRA as well. And that's requiring joined up work between Department of Education, Department for Health, and DEFRA. So if Brexit has done anything, it's started pulling some people together to see the impact of one policy on another.
Thank you very much. So it's good to hear a good news story about Brexit. Roger,
Few and far between.
Roger, talking really from within the organic sector as an organic certification body, what do you think then maybe the sector needs to do to actually take up policies that could end up with a situation that we have in Denmark?
Okay, I think I'd start by saying that we seem to have a down on ourselves quite a lot, and I think we have to recognise that actually organic does put us in a really good place as far as consumers are concerned. I think we should recognise that. But one of the big learnings I took from Paul's presentation is the fact that we need to cooperate far more readily than we do at the moment. We are only a small sector, but for example, at the moment we have the Organic Trade Board, we've got the English Organic Forum, we've got the Welsh Organic Forum, the Scottish Organic Forum, the National Northern Ireland Organic Forum, there's various certifiers doing various things. It's all a little bit fragmented and piecemeal, and I think what we really need right now is to pull the whole sector together. So we need a trade body, and the Organic Trade Board is an idea, is a sort of a blueprint for that principle, but I think we need a body that consolidates the sector and consolidates the messages that we're trying to make to policymakers and to consumers alike. It's great that Paul talked about creating trust and hope, and I think that is also a really, really critical thing, that we start building on that positive message. I think for too long we've ended up in an antagonistic discussion with non-organic, and I think that is only to our own detriment. So I think we need to take that decision as a sector to stop denigrating what other people are doing and start making sure that our message from now on is a positive one about the positive things that we can deliver. So we should be talking about the benefits of organic rather than the features of organic, and I think that's a really critical step forward. And I think what that will enable us to do and achieve, if we can collaborate fully, is that we can start to consolidate the data that is out there that we still can't get our hands on. And I think once we've got data, then suddenly we have a lot more power to our elbow. So if we understand what's happening within the UK, what products are coming in from outside, what consumers are thinking, what farmers are thinking, I think put all that together, I think we start to build a really strong message, and it helps guide the sector in terms of where it sees its weaknesses, where the strengths are, and how we can move the thing forward. And I think also a joined up, coordinated position also helps us in terms of policy. We are a really small sector. We have some massive forces raging against us. So it's really, really critical now that we come together as one sector and speak with one voice.
Thank you very much. And I won't ask you straight off, but maybe it's something we can ponder. One of Paul's approaches in Denmark was to bring together all the organisations under the Organic House, under Organic Denmark. How can we mirror that? The other is also a single, free, state certification, inspection, verification service. That's quite different from what we have in the UK, but maybe we can reflect on that in questions. The last person I'd like to give a comment is one of the most respected figures in the organic movement, not least because of his gargantuan size, but also his amazing ability to think and to synthesise across a whole range of issues. So Hardy, can you give us a sort of a global overview, a Europe-wide overview, over the sorts of things that we need to be doing to mirror what happens in Denmark? Thank you.
Well, first of all, I think I can only reinforce you have to speak with one voice.
Yeah.
That's your strength. With one voice, two processors, salesperson, government, because government don't like to speak to 20 different organizations. They just don't love it. And that's why I would suggest that you need a lot of partners. And one partner is going to be the environmental and nature conservation movement.
Yeah.
Because from my experience in Germany, I can say we have one umbrella organization with 6 million members, and even Mrs. Merkel listens to us twice a year and wants to know what we would think about her policy and what she should put forward at the G8 or G20 conferences. And this organization supports organic farming 100%. It's not like the RSPB, where we always have discussions when they come to Berlin, to NABU, and we have to learn that they are not 100% behind organic farming. All our organizations are, and I think that is your nearest and best partner here. Once you get your act together, as you said, and you have one voice in the organic movement, then you use those, and because they, after all, are also consumers. And 6 million, I always say it's 12 million consumers, minimum. And to Mrs. Merkel, I say, well, the company came and threatened with 25,000 jobs. I have 6 million votes, Mrs. Merkel, for the next election. So you can use this for organic farming. If you have those behind you, I think you are very strong, not only have me as consumers, but also as a background in your political discussions. So get your act together, do it like they do, speak with one voice, and then get all your partners. And I'm sure you will move things in Britain. Denmark is smaller, so they have it easier, much easier than you. And you have Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland, but we have Bavaria and North Rhine-Westphalia, so for us it's also not easy. But anyway, I think you can use this opportunity to combine yourself with all that. And I hope that the RSPB is going to be your partner in the future, 100% supporting organic farming.
Thank you very much for that steer for Gareth's future work. Paul, I'm not going to come to you now. What I'd like to do is get questions. We've got sort of 15 minutes now because we were cut off with a late start. So let's get some questions. Let's get 3 questions. So we've got one there. Do we have another one? And one over there. So let's get those 3 and then we'll give Paul a chance to respond and then come back down the line and then we'll be on our way. Paul. No, sorry, it's the lady there. Sorry, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Karen.
Just one second.
Yeah.
Sorry, you need the mic, yeah.
I'm Karen. I represent Whole Health Agriculture. I'm Norwegian, and I have a question for Paul. How do you deal with antimicrobial resistance? I know you have a lot of pig farming in Denmark and quite a lot of MRSA problems. And I also think, I hope I'm mistaken, but I think homeopathy is illegal in Denmark for animals. So could you please, say how do you deal with the situation with alternatives to antibiotics and the illegals?
Thank you very much. We'll come to the answer to those questions after we've had one from Paul and one over here.
May I ask Paul? You don't have to go very far.
Hi there, Paul Moore from the Organic Trade Board. I think what's clear from the presentations today in the panel is this idea of sort of building partnerships and consolidating under one roof to bring things together. But for you two gentlemen, I'd like to ask a question. Is knowing where you are now and what you've managed to achieve, is there anything else in your toolbox that you would like to be there in terms of developing the market in your next phase, the next 3 to 5 years?
Lovely question. Looking forward to the future, even in places that are brilliantly successful already. That's a great one. Over there, please.
Thank you. Very inspirational talk. My name is Josh Dugdale from a place called Waysin. We are converting to organic now. I've been confused a little bit by who we should be certifying with. So from that perspective, having one body would be really helpful. But I guess just to amplify this viewpoint, the idea of who is the person the government talks to, who is the guy, and obviously if there are lots of guys, it's problematic. And on behalf of the guys, how can they talk for the sector if there's lots of other bodies? So without doubt, it's got to be one body going forward. And I'm sure this hasn't been first time it's been said, so a bit more of a statement than a question.
Well, no, I think it is a question, it's a valid question. And the one thing I'd just like to clarify, guys is a non-gendered word. Are you just talking about men?
Non-gendered.
It's non-gendered guys. Okay, guys, we're all together on this one. Paul, you've had 3 questions. One on a very particular detail, antibiotic resistance, how are you dealing with that, and particularly in the context of alternatives with homeopathy, apparently, according to the question, being banned in Denmark. A good question. You've already achieved a lot, and this I think also applies to Hardy as well. But what would you count as your next big thing that you want to do, having done all of that good stuff, to take it to 100%? And then the third rather particular question, which I think is directed specifically to Roger, who is the chairman of the UK Organic Certifiers Group, I'm sure oftentimes has on the agenda whether we should all be having a single certification scheme. So let's get those 3 questions, and I fear we're going to have to close. So if anyone wants a burning question or a statement, think about it now. So Paul, you start, then Hardy, and then we'll just run back down the line.
Yeah, I'll try to be really brief too, because there could be other people. Yeah, pigs, restrictions on purchasing, on transport, visits, a number of different steps has kept us. We're down in the single-digit fines of MRSA, for example, where it's 75–80% in Danish pigs otherwise. So we also communicate about that. And homeopathy is not completely illegal, but we can talk about that afterwards.
So can you just clarify, is it banned or is it not? Homeopathy?
No, it's not banned.
Right, so that's something you can sort out later. Take assurance that it isn't banned. Thank you.
Yeah, the future of the market. I mean, we want to deepen the work that we already have, but you're asking what's new, and that would be to change some of the rules of play. We are after, and we are trying to get our governments to propose at the European level the possibility for differentiating the VAT for green products, right. Certified green products like organic, like environmentally certified cleansers and body care and that sort of thing. That would just change production dramatically. And the cap is also about fair play. You get the agriculture you pay for. If they're paying more for public services, then that will change the economics of production for organic farming. And the public kitchens coming all the way into goal. We have 35–40% of all of our kommune, which represent the entire country, it's like county cities, are already at or approaching their 60% goal, but we want all 98 kommune to be at least 60%. So those are some of the main drivers. Was there another question?
No, that was it.
Yeah.
You dealt with it. Thank you. Hardy.
Yes, first of all, I would say that we should have in Germany, and you probably too, very clearly the polluter pays principle applied. I'm saying that because Germany has been taken to court, we don't fulfill the nitrate directive, and it's going to cost us, when we are fined, about 2 million a day. And suddenly everybody listens, hey, 2 million a day and we have to pay it? So people are forcing now us to change. Second point is that I would certainly like that the regulations are loosened in that way, that we allow more decentralized structures for slaughterhouses, for dairies and so on, and not only 4 in the whole of Germany. Third point is that, and that is not within the organic movement, the names of our organizations have become a label, Bioland, Naturland, and they are interested to have that name on many, many products. And they are sometimes getting very loose with the certification, because the income of 70 or 80% of that depends on this. So I would really love for Germany, and maybe in Britain the sort of association is similar, that your income is not dependent on how often your name is on a product. That is my third point, and the last one is that in Germany we reached the promise since the Green-Red coalition, and it is now 20 years, that we reached 20%. I hope we reach it by 2020.
Thank you very much. If we just come back down the line then, so we're starting from an organic sector perspective, a government, a finance and an environmental NGO. Roger?
I can't comment on pigs in Denmark, I'm sorry.
You don't need to respond. So it's a
I'm joking,
comment.
I'm
No,
joking.
okay. We don't like jokes.
I'm going to pick up on the third question, if that's all right with you, Christina.
Yeah.
On the question of multiple CVs and free certification, surprisingly, this isn't the first time this has been raised. When the organic regulation came out initially in 1991, in there were three possible ways of delivering certification in any particular member state. One of it was purely government, which is the case of Denmark. There are other models where you could have part private organisation and part government, which is the way that the UK initially adopted the process. So they were GB Orgo 1, and then there were other certifiers behind that. But quite quickly, the UK government moved to a principle of only private organisations. So that's the model that we've got in the UK now. And that brings with it advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are that it creates a competitive environment. So potentially there are different offers from different CVs, and they come at different price points, and there is an opportunity to buy that. And I would suggest that, although as a CV, it'd be great if I didn't have any competition, but actually what that would mean then is that I could charge what I liked, and I could do what I liked, and I could set whatever rules I liked, because at the end of the day, there is no alternative, and everyone will be driven to join me and do what I want them to do. So I think there is an advantage to having a competitive certification environment. I think that allows us to be innovative, it allows us to keep our costs down, and it allows to make sure that we stay connected with our licensees and ensure that we're delivering what our licensees want to deliver. The disadvantage, of course, is you've got to make a choice. But having said that, if you've got livestock, you've got to make a choice about who your feed company is. If you're buying fuel, you've got to decide who you're going to buy your fuel from. So this isn't an unusual situation to be in, where you have a number of choices and you have to make that right decision. So that would be my response to that. These are private organisations. They are, the Soil Association particularly, are quite reliant on the income from their certification to support their charitable work. So to move back the other way, to one single body, then that would, how you would actually manage that in a way that ensured that the structure that's been evolved is maintained, I think would be quite difficult. But ultimately it comes down to DEFRA and to the UK government, and if they make a decision that they're going to move their policy and they're going to revert back to one body, which is what I believe happened in Denmark, then obviously that's something that the government can do.
Thank you very much. Kathleen, the final thought, wrapping up.
I think this has been a really interesting couple of days. I agree with what Roger says, that having some competition out there I think is beneficial for everyone, and each of the control bodies offers a different perspective and meets the needs of their particular market. So I see that as a good thing, and I can't see the government taking over doing that work.
Can you just say a little bit more about the way in which the agriculture bill could be made real in some ways that would help to achieve something like organic Denmark?
I'm really going to disappoint you, Christopher, and tell you that I don't work on the agriculture bill. There's some people down the hallway that do, and there's some very clever lawyers who are working very hard on it. But I work on organics,
Right.
and organics is not in the bill.
Right. That's
And
an
however,
interesting observation.
sustainable agriculture, I believe, is one of the themes of the bill. And what they're looking for is an overarching bill that, a bit like, I think it's the 1948 Agriculture Act, that will allow them to hang a number of statutory instruments off of. So they're not looking for huge amounts of detail, they're looking for an overarching instrument.
Okay, thank you very much. Sue?
So I suppose
Christopher seems to think I run the government. And I'm really sorry to disappoint you.
I suppose that probably my closing thought really is I obviously look after a number of farmers throughout the UK, specifically in the southwest and Wales. They're all organic farmers. Of that, the individual sectors, I would say that the organic dairy sector is strong, financially strong. The other sectors, financially, it's hard. It's hard. And those farms need support, financial support. So that's why I think when it comes to the agricultural bill, it's really, really important. There is more focus on organics and giving those farmers more payments, more flexibility and more support. Because, you know, if we're going to encourage other people to convert into organic, it's got to be for the right reason. They've got to be financially viable. It's got to be financially viable at the same time.
So this would be sort of support payments as well as infrastructure payments, as well as payments for advice and training, the whole thing.
Yeah, public money for public goods. They're providing the goods, so they need the support to be able to do that. Whether following, I suppose you could say the Denmark model to a certain degree. Okay, so in Denmark you probably don't have the same level of subsidy support by the sounds of it but what you do is you provide advisory services, you provide a number of different things, and I think that's really, really important.
Super, thank you. Gareth, some closing words from the RSPB.
Yes, there is a siren voice out there that the environmental NGOs are listening to sometimes, and it's called land sparing. And keep your eye on that one. Basically, the thesis is if you buy this intensively produced loaf of wheat here, you'll save a bit of rainforest over there, perhaps. Don't ignore it entirely. I'm not convinced by it, but there is something in there that needs to be watched and responded to. But you've got a great counter case, and stick to it, which is if you buy organic loaf of bread, you will provide these skylarks, these butterflies, you'll save this much carbon, and you'll save this much pollution. And that's a really powerful selling point. So don't lose that selling point, develop it, keep working on the science of that, and at that point, organic becomes a natural choice for all those 6 million members of environmental NGOs.
Excellent. That's where we wanted to get to. Thank you very much. I'm going to give the last word to Paul, if I may, because he was keen to speak, and we've got him here, so let's get him thinking. And then we're going to close out, because I think even if I was to see a hand urgently going up, I'd ignore it.
Now, just a last remark. You said not to involve yourself in other countries' politics, but it's really worrisome that the agricultural bill doesn't include organic farming. It just seems illogical in relation to the needs of farmers making money and solving a variety of needs. So I hope they let you walk down that hall and have that conversation. And concretely, there needs to be a tick box for organic farming. That's a way of rewarding a whole variety of public services. And as you mentioned, it's very important that other farmers become aware of organic farming, and having a tick box where you can tick organic farmer is a really good way for other farmers to see what they're missing out on. So I would recommend that. There could still be a whole variety of other top-ups in relation to organics, but I would really encourage that, if nothing else, that would be a part of the bill. So I hope they'll talk with you.
It's not, but it's not.
Excuse me?
No, it's not at the moment.
So, I mean, it's lovely what you're saying, but it's not.
It's not indeed, and that's one thing that we're struggling with.
Regulations?
I think you're absolutely right, and I think there's a sense of frustration in the audience here and outside, where the failure of the bill in being specific and only having may rather than shall clauses, nothing on the precautionary principle, a lump sum
The
payment.
ELM, the tick box, that's still to be discussed.
It is, but the current signs seem to be that not that Kathleen has any sort of particular knowledge, because it isn't her field, but the current indication is that ELM won't include any specific organic scheme. But I'm really sorry, we could be talking vibrantly and excitedly for another 10 or 15 minutes, if not half an hour, another half day, who knows. I'd like to thank the panel for their really useful and insightful and sharp comments coming from the various parts of Britain and Europe that we're lucky to have with us today, and particularly Paul for his really inspiring and useful talk, which I think can send us away with a sense of positive optimism and, if you like, a sense of Volkslied, which I'm going to have in my heart. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand over, if I can ask you all to congratulate me.